Hey guys, this is Jinhao from Pendit, and today I'm in Beck Hall on Livingston campus, and I'll be talking about the Jinhao 159. This pen is very much inspired from the Montblanc Meisterstroke 149, but it has enough things that are different with it that make it a standalone pen. But before I get onto this pen, I need to explain the Montblanc Meisterstroke series real quick. Now, I don't have one on me because they retail for about $935, and that's a little out of my price range. They do retail on Amazon and eBay for about $400 secondhand, but they don't have the exact nib I'm looking for. Okay, the Montblanc Meisterstroke series, or all the Montblanc pens for that matter, have a very strict naming convention. The 1 denotes pens in the Meisterstroke line, which means masterpiece. The 4 denotes a filling mechanism, and 4 means piston filling, and 9 is a size of nib. Therefore, the Montblanc 149 is a pen in the Meisterstroke series. Wow, that's hard to say. Has a piston filling mechanism and has a number 9 nib. This pen is different in a few ways. Now, the Montblanc 149 is piston, whereas this is a cartridge converter. It takes proprietary Jinhao cartridges, but you can also adapt maybe normal, short, or long cartridges to fit in here. But it only takes Jinhao proprietary converters as well. It has a number 6 interchangeable nib instead of the 149's number 9 nib. It's a little smaller, but still pretty okay in terms of size. This is a steel pen, whereas the Montblanc Meisterstrokes are made of precious resins, which I have no idea what that means. Maybe it's just a proprietary resin from Montblanc. There are some minor design changes, which I can't go over as much because I don't have a Montblanc with me, but I will explain every single aspect of this pen, and then I'm going to go to a writing sample. Okay, let's start with the cap. The cap has a very rounded off finial, which is pretty long for a pen finial. Then it transitions to a rather thick cap band and a clip. Now the cap band and the clip are one piece, so the clip is pretty strong. Okay, you can take the pen like this and extend the clip, but if you're just holding the pen, you can't directly extend the clip without slight maneuvering. So it can be extended and slid over. You can also just slide this over to something like pretty thin. The clip is rather springy, but it's not springy enough to just be able to slide completely off. About a 7th or 6th down the top of the clip, you see enlarged Jinhao logo. The clip tapers down to a point which ends at a rather thick secondary cap band right at the end of the cap. It says Jinhao on the front and 159 at the back. It has the way the Jinhao 159 is written is somewhat like the Montblancs, but Montblancs also have 2 secondary cap bands that are above and below this cap band. Then the cap slightly tapers down, not by much, it's very minuscule. And then there's a step down to the barrel. Now the barrel is rather large here, and then it tapers down to a similar barrel band as well as a finial that looks just like the one on the cap, just slightly thinner. The cap screws off and posts rather firmly. However, I had a golden one of these, and when I posted the cap, the plastic insert that threads on the threads did get slid back and forth, and it kind of came off. I had to glue it back in, but I don't have that pen anymore, so I can't show you exactly. But it does post pretty securely. You might have to do that once, and then you're probably good for life. And right above the rather thick barrel, there are metal threads. Now the metal threads on the barrel do align with plastic threads in the cap. That might be of an issue down the line, but I don't see this pen being used for that long for it to be an issue. Your mileage may vary, that's just my opinion. Right above the threads is the section. Now the section is straight conical. There's no flaring to it, which I really like. You know how much I love this. There's no flaring, it just tapers down slightly, but it does end at a small tapering kind of finial thing or band that flares outwards, which is pretty good, which is okay, I guess. And right after that, there's a small transition via a plastic insert to the number 6 nib. Now, I changed the nib of this to a Goulet nib just because I actually hated the Jinhao 159 nib. It was terrible, at least the one I had. I've had other Jinhao number 6 nibs on the X450 and X750, and they've performed okay. They haven't been great, they've been okay. But this was terrible. The QC on Jinhao's side isn't great. I mean, this pen retails for like $10. You can't expect a $10 pen that's completely metal to have that good quality control, especially on a nib. Again, your mileage on a nib might vary quite a bit. I've seen people who've had Jinhao 159s and their nibs have been stunning right out of the box. Not mine. I've put a Goulet 1.5mm stub on this. It works pretty well. The feed does keep up with the ink demand of this nib, which is pretty good. And I'll make you see that in the writing sample right now. Okay, so this is the review of the Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.5mm stub. And the ink I'm using is Herbin 1670 Blue Nuit. This is what the ink looks like, and this is it against Schaefer's Script Blue Black and Pilot Blue Black. Now this ink actually has some shimmer to it, but you can't see it in this because this wasn't very good paper. You'll see it on the Rhodia right now, but this wasn't a great choice for index cards for ink, but I have to stick with it for now. Okay, let's move on to writing sample. Okay, it hasn't skipped on me, so that's pretty good. The feed does keep up rather well, even with a shimmering ink with particulates in it. Let's just move on to a flex test. Now it's a steel nib, so it's not gonna flex as much. This is more a writing sample of the feed and how the feed keeps up. But it's a normal Goulet nib. It functions well with every other pen as well. It's okay on the side stroke, it's not bad, but on the up and down stroke, it actually lays down a lot of ink. It lays down a lot of ink. Let's see how this feed keeps up with a signature, shall we? Okay, keeps up pretty well. This was me, I just turned the nib. That's why I don't like these so much. Like if you've seen the Custom 74, it has a music nib, so it does have a stub effect to it, but because it has 2 tines, it's just much wetter and much juicier than this nib, which is a single slit. But it's okay. Like if I turn this a little bit, it doesn't give me very much to deal with. But the Custom 74 with its gold music nib, if I turn a little bit, it's still pretty okay. This works fine if you're just, doing maybe 1 or 2 signatures a day. But if you're like signing a lot of things all day, this nib isn't your best option. This pen, on the other hand, if you have large hands, is pretty good as an everyday writer. But if you're going to invest in a pen that's going to be an everyday writer and you have large hands, I would just I would suggest you to stick to a brand name pen like the Mont Blanc Meisterstück if you can't afford it. But if you can't, there are kind of other jumbo pens out there which might be more your style. But if you just want to try if jumbo pens do work for you, this is a good starter pen to be. But don't judge this pen too quickly just because of the nib. If you want, get another double broad nib or an oblique double broad and shove it on this pen and see how that works for you. If that does work, then you can invest in a really good pen for yourself. All right, that's it for the writing sample, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, thanks guys. That's it from me for the Jinhao 159. I hope you liked that, and until I see you guys next time, stay safe.